ABC pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message, regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field, ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Junior show. The Jesse Jackson Junior show. The Jesse Jackson Junior show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Maybe LA. Top 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580, where it's Moving Mountain Mondays, and we are going to be yielding much of our day to our continued series here at KBLA to honor women and Women's History Month. It's Moving Mountain Mondays.
Welcome forward, everyone, to the Jesse Jackson Show. I'm Mr. Ernest Krim III. We're going to have a short segment of Krim's class. My brother Jesse is here. I'm just right here for him as everything gets sorted out. And it's a pleasure and honor to be here with you all today on this beautiful Monday. I got to say to my folks out in LA, it feels a little weird to have weather that is on par with you all today in the Chicago area.
Ernest, can you hear me? This is Jesse Jackson
As
Jr.
we continue, y'all, there's been so much going on in America, as you can imagine. And as you know, there's so much going on worldwide. And I think one of the first things that's on the top of my mind, as we talk briefly, is about everything that's going on with Iran. You know, it's considering that gas in some places I know is $5, $6, $7. Where I am, it's almost $5. We are able to truly see the economic repercussions of a president who has shown time and time again in only a year and a couple months that he does not give a care about anyone and has not kept any of his promises. One of the most disturbing things I came across over this past weekend was the idea of Iran having had so many of their schools and institutions bombed, are now saying, which to me isn't surprising, that they are now going to target American universities that are stationed in the Middle East. And I think that should be alarming for all of us, because usually when we come across situations like this, we are under the impression that none of this will ever impact us or touch us or hit us because of where we are stationed in the world.
Ernest?
And as we see now, that is not the case. There are consequences and repercussions for every action that this president makes. It's not just what's going on internationally, but it's also about some of the Supreme Court decisions simultaneously that can impact us. So for me, coming in fresh off the weekend, coming in on Monday, we have so much to be aware of, so much to stay abreast of. And I recently saw, when you think about the Supreme Court decisions that are going to be coming in very soon. So it's not just this war, it's that war internationally, and it's this war domestically on our rights and our civil liberties.
Okay, Taz, can you hear me?
Yeah, you
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Taz, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, along with Mr. Ernest Krim and Ernest in Krim's classroom. Ernest, are you there?
keep talking.
Ernest. Ernest, this is Jesse Jackson Jr. Can you hear me?
When we consider the Supreme Court decisions coming further down the line, y'all, that will impact where we are in terms of the mail-in ballots. We have a lot to be aware of and to stay abreast of in the forthcoming months, y'all. So let's continue to stay alert.
Ernest, it's possible that you can't hear me, but I am live with you on the program. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We are continuing our Women's History series. Gina A. Towns is the president and CEO of 519 Productions and the executive producer, creative director, and program director for the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Smiley Audio Media's KBLA Talk 1580. She's also a host of Reflectivity on our weekly series, Fat Meat Fridays. I'm particularly honored that Gina will be hosting us in the second hour of our show. And in the second segment, until the top of the hour. Let me allow this opportunity, if I might, to introduce some of our critical guests. Angie Coleman-Scott will be joining us after the break. She's the founder of Level Up Nation, a virtual talk show network where ordinary people with extraordinary stories are hosted. Also, Heather Hayes, born the daughter of iconic singer and songwriter, music producer, and actor Isaac Hayes, will be joining us on our program. And last but not least, Patricia Nash is a transformational architect, AI confidence strategist, and human potential catalyst with over 30 years of experience in coaching, consulting, and business leadership. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
All the women who independent, throw your hands up at me.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable. All month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we're your girls. Won't you know that we love you?
Progressive knows that for business owners, vacations hit different. But hey, at least you finally took a vacation. And look at that. You only answered 53 calls, 84 emails, onboarded one new hire, and covered for Chris while he's out on paternity leave, and you did it all from a kayak. Because you, my friend, know how to relax. All right, you may not know how to take a day off, but you do know both your personal and business auto insurance needs can be covered in one place with Progressive. So at least that's relaxing, right? Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states or situations.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 15.
Now, Mondays with Jesse Jackson. First, let me begin by expressing my great appreciation to my boss, Tavis Smiley, for the week of respite that he allowed me to take. A lot of interesting things obviously occurred in my life over the last 30 or 40 days, and I'm very grateful that Tavis was kind enough. After almost 2 years on the radio, this is season 2 of the Jesse Jackson Jr. show. We've simply not taken a break. Monday through Friday, 2 to 4, right here on KBLA, initially on WVON, and then simulcast on both stations, but solidly with KBLA. I do want to comment just before I bring on our guests and turn the show over to the creator of our show, Gina Towns, that we are living in an age of misinformation. I can't begin to tell you its consequences for our democracy. I don't know how completely to report on what is accurate or not accurate in Iran and the war. There is so much artificial intelligence, so much misinformation. We don't believe the president of the United States. We've never heard a truth from him, so there's no expectations that we will hear one now with American lives on the line. It's impossible to think past or even move past the bravado of Secretary Hegseth of this so-called Department of War. I guess we should have taken the strongest possible signal from him that we were no longer going to be defending ourselves, but we were going to be bringing conflict to people. But I'm grateful in this hour that we continue right here at KBLA, our Women's History Series. Gina Towns co-produced the Emmy Award-nominated documentary Hampton University, One of the Wonders of the World, and as a songwriter, co-producer, and performer. Her single, Yes, hit number 26 with a bullet on the Billboard charts. Corporately, she received the 3M Company's highest award, the Spirit of Quality Award. Angie Coleman-Scott is the founder of Level Up Nation, a virtual talk show network where ordinary people with extraordinary stories. She hosts The Real Level Up and, as founder, creator, and executive producer of all 5 talk shows, empowers individuals and everyday voices. Also, we're grateful to have with us, born the daughter of iconic singer, songwriter, music producer, and actor Isaac Hayes. Heather Hayes has greatness flowing systematically through her veins, while under the tutelage of her legendary father and music genius and greats like the Godfather of Soul, James Brown, Heather honed her skills as an entertainer. And last but not least, Pat Nash. I'm so honored that this transformational architect, AI confidence strategist, and human potential catalyst with over 30 years of experience in coaching, consulting, and business leadership joins us on the finale of our Women's History Month series right here at KBLA Talk 1580s. Ladies, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for having us.
I'm honored and privileged now to turn this part of the show and the balance of this hour over to our creative director and the executive producer of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Gina Towns.
Well, greetings, everybody.
Hello. Good to see you. We can't hear you. Sound went out.
We appreciate the opportunity, Jesse, to be able to honor women, to talk about women's history, talk about our own place in the world as we have it today. So let's get right into it. These are 3 very accomplished women here, and what can we say?
Woo. Your sound is.
Can you hear me now?
We hear you now. There you go.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So tell me about Women's History Month, and I mean, how do you even feel about there being a month? I mean, I guess this always harkens back to Black History Month. I mean, we are always. Women are always, and so I guess, you know, it's great to have a month, but tell me how it even feels. And let's start with Pat. How does it feel to put women on the stage for a month? And what are your thoughts about Women's History Month?
Actually, I feel the same way about Black history. I think it's imperative that we highlight it, but we know it's woven into the very existence of who we are. So I think it's great. I mean, it's like Mother's Day. I think it's great to highlight a month because it would take a lifetime to note and highlight all the women and their contributions to who we are and what we're experiencing right now. So I think it's a great way to start. It's a great way to start.
It's a great way to start. You know, I mean, even given the fact that women did not have the right to vote or even have a real voice till so late in the constitutional process. But that's one of the great things about having the amendment process available. But Heather, you know, same question to you. What does it feel like, or how does it make you feel when you think about, you know, your mom, the women in your life, what they meant to you, women that you may admire? And certainly I want to get to that at some point here very quickly about the women that we admire and have inspired us. But what does it mean to have a month? Positive, negative?
I think it's positive. I think it is imperative that we have a month because, you know, I was thinking about just Women's History Month or even just Black History Month and thinking about as a woman, as a young woman, even in school, there were so many things that we just were not taught. And I think it's imperative that the next generation understands that in every major movement in this country, most times women were on the forefront of those movements. And we're not really taught that. I mean, it's like we do way more than cooking, cleaning, and having babies. And I feel like I was cheated in school because in a lot of ways, we weren't really taught those things. It wasn't highlighted, especially Black women. And so I think it's so important. I think it's, you know, about time. I think we have to celebrate it. I think it has to be a month because I think there's a concerted effort right now to minimize and erase the things that African American, not just women, but African American people in general
Mhm.
have put, like this country wouldn't be standing if it wasn't for Black women or Black people. And so I think it's imperative. And I find it, I think, unfortunately, to be quite honest, I think it's actually, unfortunate that we have to have a month to be represented and recognized, because it is what it is. The country wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for Black women, period.
Mhm.
But, I think we have to take the wins where we have them, and we have a month. And so the younger generation can now learn about what Black women contributed to this country and to the world.
Mhm. Angie, who are the women who have inspired you and helped you to become who you are?
You?
Good answer. Good answer.
That's funny.
That's my girl right there. Look, okay. No, on the real, you guys, I'm going to start out. The number one female in my life was my mother, Winifred Smiley. Now, she recently had passed away, everyone, and I'm still going through the grieving process. But in that grieving process, you guys, I'm literally meeting people along the way that I did not know she touched. So she's born in Knoxville, Tennessee, but she has a grave family in Birmingham, Alabama, which I was born and raised. So I want to start there. My mother was a young girl, very green, moving to Birmingham, Alabama with no family but her husband, okay? Had 4 girls. To raise 4 girls in the deep South, okay? And let me say it this way. To raise 4 girls in the deep South, the way that we look, we're not brown skin. So unbeknownst to a lot of people who have light skin, it's not easy growing up in the South. It's not. You're hated one way. You're too light to be black, but too black to be white. So you're stuck in the middle. So
Yeah.
this woman is raising 4 girls to figure out how do you be a woman on this planet Earth, the way that you look. And she did a great job making sure that we knew that we mattered, not for the way that we look, but for the way that we think. So I started there. Hats off to my mom.
So, you bring up a very interesting topic that I don't know I had intention of, and that's why I love the free flow of conversation.
Yeah.
Because right now, as women, I think this is a very important conversation. Certainly, it's been had for, centuries. But growing up, I am not my hair, I am not my eyes, I am not my skin color, and even for Black women in general, but women in particular, Black women in particular, having to navigate who we are with, first of all, one another. In Black History Month, we have certainly come a long way. Our hair care products, our health care, our ability to transcend corporate America, to become entrepreneurs. And I think that I have, 3 of those on this show with me. So let's kind of take some time to talk about that during Black History Month here. How far have we come in loving one another?
Ooh.
And how important is it?
Ooh. Y'all go ahead, because y'all know I got a lot to say. So y'all better go first.
Well, I know we don't have that much time, but we always have a lot to talk about. I mean, most of you know I have a relationship talk show on Sunday nights, and the war against if it's not the skin color, it is the sexes, the men and the females, how they see each other. So in learning to love each other, I think we have a lot to learn in this country in general. I don't care what color you are, about respecting women first, respecting women of all colors. And then you have an extra layer respecting Black women. It goes another layer deeper. So in learning to love others, we have a long way to go, but it starts with loving yourself.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you have a book out right now. Tell us a little bit about that book, because that's kind of the subject matter,
Yes.
if you will. And
Yes.
tell us about your talk show. Tell us how we can listen to you while we're at it.
Yes. So we're on Sunday nights, and we're on all social medias. We're on Level Up Nation, by the way, the talk show that was mentioned that Angie founded. But the book is a #1 bestseller on Amazon. It's called YOU. It spells you, but the question is, why owe you? Why owe yourself? Because we love on others so well, and we do so many things for other people, but we have not learned how to love ourselves. So that is the subject that we happen to be talking about right now. Is the book teaches you how to love others without losing yourself. And it's going to roll me right into Harriet Tubman, because I love her, because her love compelled her to pull other people out. And that's kind of what I do. But I'm going to pass it on to Heather.
Yeah, Heather. Yeah, Heather, you have been in a public setting. You have lived the majority of your life with an eyeball 2 or 100 on you at any given time. And so in line with that conversation, learning to love one another, or feeling love from other women who look like you, don't look like you, what is the challenge? What do you feel like you've learned, and what advice do you give us to continue moving forward?
I think Pat hit the nail on the head. I think it is about loving yourself first. And I do want to mention my mom did a wonderful job at teaching me to love myself. I grew up in the South as well, by way of California, but growing up in the South. And my mother is very, very light complected. And that whole side of the family is very, very light complected. And when you live in a country, in spaces where, unfortunately, there's still remnants of slavery in our community, and so we're judged based upon the color of our skin. They did a really good job of me not feeling less than because I was browner than them. And I think that's really, really important, specifically in the space of entertainment, because so often when you're going to auditions and you're going to things like that, you can only be 1 or 2 that look like me. The rest of them just were not, or getting excused because I have a particular grade of hair. And so I think that we really have to work on loving ourselves so that we can support and be supportive to one another, because unfortunately, all of this kind of stuff that we have between each other, we're taught that. That's learned behavior. So I think we have a ways to go. I do see remnants of it. And I see, as long as we have people that are a reflection of the entirety of who we are as a community, we all don't look alike. There's 5 million different colors. There's 5 million different hair textures. As long as we have representation that we can see, we will eventually learn to love ourselves and then learn to love each other.
Yeah, we are coming up on our 2-minute break before we come forward. I definitely want to continue that line of thinking and discussion when we return and come forward, because I think where we are is so pivotal right now. And it's, you get to a certain point. It's almost kind of how we were coming out of Jim Crow into the civil rights era, into affirmative action. And now we see ourselves in another place. A lot of Black women have lost their jobs over the past year, and find ourselves in a very interesting dynamic here in this country. We are going to pick right up there with Heather Hayes and Angie Coleman Scott and Pat Nash when we return. When we come forward, this is KBLA. I'm Gina Towns. It's the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Women's History Month special in the first hour. We'll see you in a moment.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The White House says there may be a path to reopen the Department of Homeland Security as the shutdown continues.
Once again, President Trump is cleaning up their mess because he cares more about the American people than destructive, petty, partisan politics.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says President Trump cannot keep issuing orders to pay TSA workers and again blamed Democrats for the 45-day standoff centered on ICE funding. Professional golfer Tiger Woods is reportedly avoiding hiring a driver due to privacy concerns, with sources saying he does not want anyone watching or knowing his movements. The report comes after his recent DUI arrest in Florida, where he faces charges, including property damage. And Wanda Sykes is releasing a new comedy special on Netflix. The Emmy-winning comedian's latest stand-up, titled Legacy, will be her third special with the streamer and features an hour of bold, sharp humor. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event, featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Congratulations to the UCLA women's basketball team. They advanced to the Final Four in the NCAA tournament for the second year in a row. UCLA overcame a sluggish first half to beat Duke 70-58 in the Sacramento Regional Final. 29 straight wins for the Bruins. They are 35-1. Lauren Betts scored 15 of her 23 points in the second half. The Bruins will play Texas or Michigan Friday night in Phoenix. The NCAA men's basketball Final Four is set. Illinois, Michigan, Arizona, and UConn. Lakers star Luka Doncic will serve a one-game suspension for tonight's home game against Washington. Doncic was hit with his 16th technical foul Friday night in the Lakers win over Brooklyn. The one-game suspension will cost Doncic $561,000. The Clippers beat Milwaukee Sunday 127-113. Benedict Mathurin had a game-high 28 off the bench. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Whoa, whoa.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey guys, do you want male performance in the bedroom and do you want it now? Get it in 47 seconds or less. For the first time, you can have instant male enhancement. Introducing Nox 47, the topical male enhancement that works in 47 seconds or less. Satisfaction guaranteed. Finally, after years of scientific research, our proprietary formula will allow you to perform in the bedroom like never before. Just imagine that little blue pill on steroids. No reason to settle and wait when you can get instant performance now. Forget about pills and potions that make you wait hours or up to 30 days to work. That's yesterday's news. Nox 47 is brand new. The hottest thing for men. And you don't need a prescription. Call now and get your free supply for a limited time.
To find out how to get Nox 47 for free, call now. 800-677-1453. That's 800-677-1453. Free bottles for limited time. Call 800-677-1453. That's 800-677-1453.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Less than 24 hours before a planned California governor's debate, USC and KABC Television Channel 7 pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message, regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field, ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Gina A. Towns. I am the host of Reflectivity here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, but we are celebrating here on March 30th, 2026, Women's History Month. Before it's all over, before it's too late, we wanted to make sure that we got our voices in, that we got to share with one another, that we got to share about people that we are indebted to as we go along. Women who have affected us. And today's guests are Angie Coleman Scott. She is the founder and progenitor, if you will, of the Real Level Up, and that is hosted on every platform. And Pat Nash, who is an author and also a talk show host in her own right, and Heather Hayes, an artist, musician, daughter of the iconic Isaac Hayes. So Heather, do you ever get tired of people saying this is Heather Hayes, Isaac Hayes' daughter?
I think there was a time, I don't think tired would be the word. I think that I think what people don't understand is when you are born into that kind of situation, you're struggling to find your own space and find your own identity. And a lot of times the pendulum can swing the entirely opposite direction, and where you're kind of like, you don't want anybody to know. But I think ultimately you come to a space where you realize that, this is who God intended to be my father for a purpose. I'm appreciative. I'm proud of him. And I believe in my own talents, my own gifts. I know I've worked hard at the things that I have accomplished. And so there's no kind of mixing in that, although people would like to think that. I see it all the time on the internet, even about other what they tend to call us as legacies, I would say. And I see that a lot of times about other legacies, but I think we all know the truth. And I think ultimately people see what they want to see and believe what they want to believe. And I'm just not, I can never outrun that. And so I've been done trying for years now. And I just work on me, and I work on what I want to accomplish, and I move forward.
So your dad also saw you as a up and coming generation. And certainly he had gone through a generation, and we began this conversation for those who are just joining us in our last segment about how things have changed over a period of time, because Black women in particular have been subject to so many different errors. It's, not just women can't vote, women can't be in the pulpit, and or, whatever it is that women can't do. And then it became, yes, women can. And there have been a lot of people who have propelled women in that space. And we were just talking about what do we need to do now moving forward when we find ourselves in a space where there's almost some pushback. Heather, I'll let you start with that because I did bring up, what your dad went through himself as an artist and what he perhaps instilled with you that you would use today to move us in that direction forward.
I think, well, to piggyback off what you said, as far as pushback, I think it's beyond pushback. I think there's an intention. I think there is a plan to disenfranchise African American women in the corporate space, in the job space. I think it's intentional. I think it's an attempt to roll back. What I will say is for me, we need to, there's power in numbers, and I think it's just unifying and unity. That's what we have to do, and support one another. There's something to be said for, there's a time where there wasn't female directors, female producers, female congresswomen, like, you know what I mean? And all of these things matter. And when when young women see reflections of themselves in these spaces, then they too have the belief that they can also accomplish those same things. And so I just think I think support is paramount. I think unifying is paramount, because I think people need to understand it's not, we are under attack. That's just what it is. At this point, we're under attack. They want to remove our economic freedoms, our ability to take care of ourselves, our ability to bring other people into the fold and help them build. And why? Because there's power in numbers. There's power in unity. And so if we continue to support and unify, I think that that's really the one thing that's going to make a difference.
What do you tell young women who are watching this rollback, who probably grew up under President Barack Obama, saw a Michelle Obama emerge, and have not ever really seen women not do, not be, not go, not achieve? Pat, what do you tell these younger women right now as they are faced with exactly what Heather just said, the purposeful plan?
I agree with Heather. I'm telling you, support is critical. I think we've been taught that too in the past, not to support each other, to kind of pit each other against each other. But I would say to the younger generation that's coming on now, those who don't remember their past are doomed to repeat it again. So just because you have some leverage doesn't mean that you don't have to fight to continue to have it. I live in Oklahoma, and I get the same uniqueness of being more than one race, and the discrimination against my color. But I have a tribal side too. I mean, we're Native Americans, and so I see that on both sides. I see the discrimination because you're Native American, you're a Black woman. And then, it's taught, unfortunately, even in our tribes, if you're a darker shade of Indian versus a lighter shade of Indian, it's crazy. And then you have the layer. I promise you there is another layer. You women know it. You're in business. There is a whole nother layer to this discrimination. And when you add the fact that you're a woman, and I think we have to continue to fight for that. And what Heather said and what you've been teaching, Gina, and what Angie and I have been sharing, we have to stick together and work together. We got to work together.
Absolutely. Angie, talk to me about the heart issue behind working together, because the heart has to be kind of cleansed a little bit. There are some things that we struggle with, and these are societal things. These are things that have been thrust upon us over a period of time, and that is the standard of beauty, the standard of intelligence, the standard of status. And what can we do in this day to get our hearts right toward each other? Now, I know pain will make you do a lot of things and make you come together, but what is it that you would say to women who are listening to this in any generation about reaching out and being able to get past ourselves? I think that's the real question.
Forgiveness. That's it. Forgiveness. Forgive yourself first for the things that you did not see or even understand, or even where you thought you should be. Forgive yourself. Once we forgive ourselves, then it's easier to forgive others who may, done something to you. And once we get forgiveness on right, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, then there is love of yourself and love of others. But I really think, Gina, it starts with forgiveness.
I think that is a great place to start. And I think there's not enough forgiveness in the land to begin with. But overcoming in order to be able to get to forgiveness. And I do think we've made a lot of strides. We are more and more happy about who we are, who God made us to be as women. And I think even in this particular day, our kids and the generations that are coming behind us are very free and very secure in who they are. I think that if we are to be statesmen and they are to be pioneers, then you will see the whole family come together. And partly some of this, as I mentioned, and I want to come back to this when we come forward, is the generational tug and pull, if you will, of making sure that we pass things on down to one another. There was a time when grandma, auntie, mama, and everybody sat at the same table. So when we are ready to sit at the table, we're going to talk. And I know we're going to do a little bit more of that when we come back. This is the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We'll be right back.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey LA, spring into savings with a special offer from LADWP. Now through March 31st, get a Flume device for free. What's a Flume? It's an easy-to-install home water monitor and leak detector that helps you catch leaks early and track water use. Don't wait. Order your free Flume before March 31st at ladwp.com/FLUME. That's ladwp.com/FLUME. Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
We're at Doolin's on Crenshaw. It's a special place where the neighborhood comes together. Got the fried chicken, the catfish, the candied yams, the mac and cheese. It's all delicious. I'm Isaac Bryan. I represent the Crenshaw District in the California State Legislature, and I'm supporting Tom Steyer for governor of California. California is under attack, and we need a fighter who's going to come in on day one and stand up for California values and push back. That person is Tom Steyer. Tom and I have been fighting together for the better part of a decade. Tom is the only candidate supported by smart justice because Tom has stood on the front lines of racial justice, economic justice, and true solidarity. Tom is the real deal. He's the only candidate in the race with a comprehensive plan to make the billionaires and the corporations pay their fair share so we can fund things like universal health care and education. He means what he says, and he does what we need. This is a moment when we've got to fight fire with fire, and I believe that fire is Tom Steyer.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's cal-cruise-news.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is connecting you with services and solutions. Domestic violence and family violence is when someone in an intimate or family relationship tries to gain or maintain power and control over another through a wide range of abusive behaviors. Every single act may amount to abuse. Abuse can take on various forms: psychological and emotional, physical and economic, and sexual abuse. The Genesee Center Incorporated is a nationally recognized nonprofit domestic violence prevention and intervention organization, housing women and children from 30 days up to 2 years through emergency and transitional shelters. The Genesee Center also provides support services like mental health counseling, life skills classes, computer training, job referrals, after-school programs for children, field trips, tutoring, and comprehensive direct legal services. If you need help or you'd like to donate or volunteer, call the Genesee Hotline, 1-800-479-7328. That's 1-800-479-7328, or visit genesee.org. Everyone has the right to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me.
I'm Gina A. Towns in for Jesse Jackson Jr. today because we are celebrating women. This is Women's History Month on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And with us today is Heather Hayes, Angie Coleman Scott, Pat Nash, and yours truly, Gina A. Towns. We have been having a fairly amazing conversation about where we are as women. I think we have drilled down just a little bit beyond how magnificent women are, into where we've been, where we are, and where we need to go, and really getting honest about some of the places where we can certainly gird up society. And before we went to that particular break, we were continuing our conversation on people that we admire, people that have influenced us, and what we need to tell the next generations. And even some of the people who have influenced us, we still need to tell them about them. My person, I had to think long and hard, because obviously my mother will always be that influence. But a lot of people always said that my mother looked like Lena Horne. And so I had to go and really kind of study Lena Horne just a little bit, and just very briefly, because I too am an artist. I had to really, really think about what that generation of artists, actors, musicians had to go through to even go through the back door. Not just, forget the front door, but Lena Horne, being an activist as she was considered a communist because she believed in justice, social justice for herself and for her people, and navigating a space where men looked at her not only as a former chattel slave, but as a piece of a commodity that could be taken advantage of at any time. So I applaud her in her space, and certainly she is and will continue to be a role model. How about you, Pat? You were Harriet Tubman. Heather Hayes.
I think, of course, your mother is the first woman that you have come in contact with. And I just applaud her strength and her perseverance and her integrity and her morality. And her beauty, her clothes. I used to stay in her closet for hours. I mean, that's why I became a clothes horse, as they call it, because of her taste. But growing up wanting to be in the arts, a singer, a dancer, people have to understand back at that time, when you're looking at mainstream, there wasn't a lot of mainstream, right? So when Whitney Houston came along, I was like, she is her, I am her. Like, that was the end and beginning for me, was Whitney Houston. I don't care what anybody said. I think as a dancer, I think my school was very intentional about taking us to see Alvin Ailey, educating us, Judith Jameson. There are people like that. There were models, like, because I was into all of that kind of stuff. And there weren't really a lot of people that, you know, reflected what Black women look like. So I don't care if it was Naomi Campbell, Vanessa Williams, like she won Miss America. Like those were pivotal moments for young Black women and young Black girls, as I was. So I really look up to all of those women because what you didn't really realize at the time is they were really breaking barriers. You know, when I'm 12 and 13, I'm just like, ooh, somebody's singing or dancing or modeling or whatever that looks like me. But when you become older and you understand the historical context of it and what they probably had to go through to make it and to be represented and to win something like that, I think that it means so much more as I was making my way through entertainment.
All right. And in a place, as you were talking, it made me think about shedding tears because of the places that they went and were not welcomed, the groundbreaking that it really takes. So there's a breaking in and of itself that takes place. And when there's a breaking, there's generally a shedding of tears. It's a shedding of self, a shedding of fear, and the growth of courage and stamina, perseverance, and even long suffering that allows us as women to fortify society, to edify society, and to continue to nurture the society that we're in. Angie.
Yes.
You didn't. Oh, you did tell us about your mom, but tell us somebody beside your mom that really has influenced you.
I got it.
In our last 3 minutes, because I'm gonna give you you guys an opportunity to share a word of hope for women in this day and in this era.
Well, it was Lynette Woodard, because like what you and Heather shared, I was into sports. Particularly basketball. And I thought I was going to be this big time basketball player, but I was too short. So, and what Lynette did, how she got my attention, she was the first woman to be a Globetrotter.
Wow.
Simple, you know, she dared to dream. So when I saw her do that and had the opportunity to meet her, she shook my hand. I thought my hand was going to fall off, but I was like, wow, you have done a great feat. And maybe some people don't think it's a big deal to be on the Globetrotters, but I did back then.
Yeah.
A little girl from Birmingham, Alabama, trying to play basketball and saw her accomplish that.
You know, you mentioned the Globetrotters, and it triggered for me the runway models and Mrs. Johnson at Fashion Fair and the Ebony Fashion Fair, who certainly gave us all as little girls a vision that we could reach for. Please give me a word of hope. Let's start with you, Heather.
I would just say that we have to stay the course. I think we have to be unified. I think we know we're strong. Just in our DNA, we've survived everything. And as long as we stay the course, support each other, and unite, we will get to the other side.
Absolutely. Pat Nash.
I would say connect with those people who are ready. The reason I chose Harriet Tubman is because her love and her passion made her go back. She found the way and she went back. And I kind of see myself in that area right now. I'm really heavy in AI. People are running, they're not sure, they're scared. But I've gone down that trail. She may have created tunnels, but we're creating funnels and we're helping people understand the power of it. And right now, guys, we're all on an equal playing field. Nobody got to jump on anybody. So this is a great time for women of color or anybody to jump in here and be the authority on it. So I'm leading the way in that. So.
All right. Well, I know that you and Angie are working on that together.
Yes.
This has been a great conversation. I hope that we get to do it again soon. Thank you for being here. And I hope everyone will look you guys up. That's Angie Coleman Scott, Pat Nash, and Heather Hayes. You can find them on social media. I'm Gina A. Towns, and we are going to end this segment here. But please join us for the second hour when Terry Hord Owens, Barbara Arnwine, and Liz King join me for the Women's History Month here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The White House says there may be a path to reopen the Department of Homeland Security as the shutdown continues.
Once again, President Trump is cleaning up their mess because he cares more about the American people than destructive, petty, partisan politics.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says President Trump cannot keep issuing orders to pay TSA workers and again blamed Democrats for the 45-day standoff centered on ICE funding. Professional golfer Tiger Woods is reportedly avoiding hiring a driver due to privacy concerns, with sources saying he does not want anyone watching or knowing his movements. The report comes after his recent DUI arrest in Florida, where he faces charges, including property damage. And Wanda Sykes is releasing a new comedy special on Netflix. The Emmy-winning comedian's latest stand-up, titled Legacy, will be her third special with the streamer and features an hour of bold, sharp humor. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event, featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Congratulations to the UCLA women's basketball team. They advanced to the Final Four in the NCAA tournament for the second year in a row. UCLA overcame a sluggish first half to beat Duke 70-58 in the Sacramento Regional Final. 29 straight wins for the Bruins. They are 35-1. Lauren Betts scored 15 of her 23 points in the second half. The Bruins will play Texas or Michigan Friday night in Phoenix. The NCAA men's basketball Final Four is set. Illinois, Michigan, Arizona, and UConn. Lakers star Luka Doncic will serve a one-game suspension for tonight's home game against Washington. Doncic was hit with his 16th technical foul Friday night in the Lakers win over Brooklyn. The one-game suspension will cost Doncic $561,000. The Clippers beat Milwaukee Sunday 127-113. Benedict Mathurin had a game-high 28 off the bench. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
They say time flies when you're having fun. The founding members cohort is now officially over. Hard to believe. It's been a joy sharing what I've discovered after nearly 40 years of conversations with presidents, cultural icons, and game changers in every field of human endeavor. If you missed the first cohort, the good news is that we're already planning the next one. Now, the seats will be limited, and those on our waiting list will receive exclusive early access and special discounts not available to the general public. So, if you are ready to transform the way you connect, lead, and build trust, do not hesitate. Go to TavishTalks.com and join the waiting list today. That's TavishTalks.com. The next cohort is coming. Make sure you are in the room. I'm Tavish Smiley, and I hope to see you there.
Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA. Talk 1580, download the app.
Moving Mountain Mondays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and we are continuing right here at KBLA, our Women's History Month finale. Hosted by the creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Miss Gina Towns. In this hour, Barbara Arnwine and Reverend Terry Hord Owens and Liz King will be our very special guests right after the break. Forward, I want to take this opportunity to make these introductions, but just before I do, I want to comment on the era of fake news and fake information and just how overwhelming it is not only to determine what is fact and what is fiction taking place in Iran. We don't know the trusted news sources. And I want to thank in a very special way Tavis Smiley for this opportunity to be on KBLA. And I can't thank enough Dr. Nee Cordelai Corte for hosting so brilliantly our show, giving me the first week off I've had nearly in 2 years on the radio, just for a moment of respite. In this hour, Barbara Arnwine, president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition, and is internationally renowned for her contributions on critical justice issues, including the passage of the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1991 and the 2006 reauthorization of provisions of the Voting Rights Act. Barbara Arnwine is one of the lead organizers of No King's Day, led by a very, very powerful and a very, very strong woman in Barbara Arnwine. Looking forward to her recap in this hour. Reverend Teresa Hord Owens is our regular contributor on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Mondays. Reverend Terry Hord Owens is the general minister and president of the Christian Church, the Disciples of Christ in the United States and Canada, an author and advocate for the church living out its calling. She's the first person of color and second woman to lead the denomination. Since her election in 2017, Reverend Hord Owens' ministry actively reflects the disciples' priority of being an anti-racist church, being a movement for wholeness, welcoming all to the Lord's table as God has welcomed us. In keeping with the disciples' historic commitment to Christian unity, she serves as leadership at the National Council of Churches and as treasurer of the governing board and a member of the World Council of Churches Central Committee. And last but not least, our regular contributor, Liz King, recently served as Education Equity Senior Program Director for the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, a position she's held since 2015 until 2025. In this role, Ms. King led organizations' work to ensure all students are fully included in welcoming schools from early childhood through post-secondary education that prepare them for college, careers, life, and the full exercise of their social, political, and economic rights. In this hour, I know Barbara Arnwine is going to update us on No King's Day. I am confident that they will cover the Voting Rights Act and so many other critical issues that are critical to women, critical to our nation, and critical to our world. I'm very proud to introduce those of you, our facilitator, the creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Gina Towns. I am here in studio with everyone, but I am in the background today, honoring women in this final moment of Women's History Month, which, Gina, I think you're probably right. It should be held every single day and not just on today. Please share the program if you're on Facebook and all of our social media programs and platforms at KBLA. Gina?
Well, thank you, Jesse. I am thrilled. These are the ladies of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show celebrating Women's History Month. It is our special time to really just interact with one another and maybe even look at some of the topics that we talk about each week from a woman's perspective. In the last hour, I was very, very privileged to have who were on and who gave us some perspective. And in this hour, I am looking forward to starting. I'm almost going to give you a countdown, Barbara, but I'm not. I'm going to just let you start right there with No King's Day. Barbara, please give us an update on No King's Day.
It was amazing. 8 million people took to the American streets. This is the largest single day of demonstrations in our history. And what was amazing is that it's an increase, from the last No Kings. People say, movements, tend to kind of peter out, right? They tend to not have as much excitement, as much commitment, as much presence. But this one, not only was the United States, every state in the union involved, but every continent in the world had a No Kings, and we had some of the reddest counties in the United States where President Trump did so well had demonstrations. People are disappointed. People are upset. I walked in that march in Philadelphia, and I'm going to tell you, as we marched, my heart was uplifted several times, broken several times. A young lady in front of me had a placard on her body, and it was pictures of Renee Good. And you could tell her death, her slaying, had really profoundly influenced this young lady. I saw families with children, being pulled in their various wagons. I saw, people of every race. And in fact, I was really impressed that in Philadelphia, I saw a real increase in African-American turnout, much more than I had seen in the past at other No Kings. I also was, really struck by all, like I mentioned, the intergenerational, all the ages. I saw people who, one person said he was 102. I saw who was out there. I saw people who had their newborn babies out there. I saw, college students. I saw so many different people and so many signs with so many issues. The war was huge. People are upset with the war. They're upset with ICE. They're upset with so many malfunctions within this authoritarian regime being headed by President Trump. But
Barbara, when we come forward, yes, I want to continue that conversation. When we come forward, it's the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Women's History Month special.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, Ahmad supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development. Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Progressive knows that for business owners, vacations hit different. But hey, at least you finally took a vacation. And look at that. You only answered 53 calls, 84 emails, onboarded one new hire, and covered for Chris while he's out on paternity leave, and you did it all from a kayak. Because you, my friend, know how to relax. All right, you may not know how to take a day off, but you do know both your personal and business auto insurance needs can be covered in one place with Progressive. So at least that's relaxing, right? Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states or situations.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Gina A. Towns, and I am the host of Reflectivity here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I am with Reverend Terry Hord Owens, who is the host, and this is her hour. This is the Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Hord Owens. We are also joined by our host on Tuesdays, On the Grind with Barbara Arnwire Esquire and Liz King, who joins us twice a month on Lighten It Up with Liz King, and we are ready to lighten it up.
If you can continue to give us a little bit more information
you saw.
Yes. I saw, signs, of course, remorseful signs for Alex Preddy's family, for his slaying. I saw a lot of anti-ICE signs. I saw a lot of humor. I mean, people, one beauty about these demonstrations that's so different of the demonstrations from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s is that people have incorporated that principle that that Black voters matters has injected into the movement, which is that we must have joy in these moments, that it can't all be solemn, and it can't all be sad, it can't all be anger, it can't all be just frustration. That joy is a sign of our belief and our ability to achieve and to change all of this. So it was just beautiful, and people were so sweet to each other. But what I loved about, I want to say Vicki Miller, who is the head of Indivisible in Philadelphia and did all the organizing for this, and her team, genius, because you couldn't walk more than a number of blocks without hitting some soulful music, and the Philly sound was everywhere. And people were dancing in those streets as they moved. People, it helped to uplift the spirits. People were there in their big old, suits with the chickens and all the other kind of things to bring humor to the moment, but also to, talk about how we're all being clowned by this administration. I thought there was, just so many people talked about food stamps, Medicaid, SNAP. They talked about every possible issue, the attack on Black history. In fact, Michael Cord, who is an amazing lawyer, activist, and radio host in Philadelphia, was one of the few speakers. One thing about No Kings, they don't have 30 speakers. They have 5, 6 the max. And Michael Cord was one of the people, and he laid it out about the attack and the attempt to erase Black history, the attack on Black history. He talked specifically about Philadelphia, where they tried to take down the placards talking about the 9 slaves that George Washington held at the, quote, Philadelphia White House. And he talked about that battle and how it was won, and how it was a people's battle, and I was really surprised and happy because the crowd roared several times during his speech as he talked about racism, because a lot of people believe that the progressive, left and the, whites within that movement aren't ready for racial justice messaging, but he brought it straight on, and people were like, yes, we're all here for this. We're all here for each other. It was amazing, high-spirited. People were leaving, and as they left, as everything was over and people were leaving, you could tell one thing: they're ready. They're ready to move forward. People weren't like, I'm worn out. People were like, I'm ready. What's the next? What do I do next? How do I keep moving? And I thought Senator Vincent Hughes, one of Reverend Jesse Jackson's mentees, he's one of the most popular, amazing senators in Philadelphia, and one of the the state of Pennsylvania. And he is so amazing because what he did was he wore his Reverend Jesse Jackson Keep Hope Alive t-shirt. Oh, wow. And he spoke about keep hope alive, and he ended with chants, when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win.
Barbara, thank you so much for your leadership throughout this process. And I also heard you say that the organizer for No King's Day, or the primary person, was a woman as well. And I want to say that even though people weren't in some of the larger marches, there were so many little smaller locations
Yes.
that people gathered. They came out. I saw them at seniors buildings, and everyone was there. It was amazing to watch, and it was great to hear people blowing their horns and letting their windows down. So there certainly is a camaraderie. And I have to imagine that one of the women who fuels your fire, and I'm going to certainly ask you to tell us who fuels your fire, but I think about Harriet Tubman as well in leading these kinds of movements. Who is the person who sources you, if you will, as far as your leadership in this hour from history?
Well, God is good there too. I am just Harriet Tubman is without question my North Star, but so is Fannie Lou Hamer. I'm about fighting women. I'm about women who defied the odds, women who folks said they were, quote, illiterate, that they didn't have the niceties and all the stature, and they turned this nation around. Their presence on this earth has been definitive to how this country looks today. And it's just so important for us to embrace our sisters. That's why I love Women's History Month. But of course, most of us, I'm sure all my sisters are here, we're 324. We're 352 days. We're there every single day fighting for women, and every day uplifting some amazing woman in our past and our history. And thank God for all the young upcoming women that I saw in those streets.
Yeah, Liz, piggybacking on some of what Barbara has shared, and in particular, who has been your inspiration? Because you are a fireball for justice and for justice movements. Tell us about where you think we are. I mean, even as we look at the women who are involved in this administration and their role in having us where we are today. I mean, it really is a step away from women who have been involved in justice movements, so to say. But who has been your inspiration, and what is it that you're seeing today as far as those who do and those who don't step into the role of leadership right now?
Yeah, thanks, Gina. It's so great to be here. Always great to be on the show. This is such a hard question. I think the one, though, the name I wanted to bring forward is Marian Wright Edelman, who I've talked about on this show before. Just an amazing, amazing leader who has shown that federal policy advocacy, which can be stuck down deep in muck and mire, can be a path to justice and opportunity for children, women, and families. And I think about all the work that she has done over these many decades, and think about the work that she did directly that meant so many more children get to go to school and be educated and be respected, but also just the tremendous role she has played as a mentor to so many other people and so many organizations, and so much advocacy at the federal government level is by people who were trained by her, inspired by her, led by her at one time or another. And I just what I always remember about Mrs. Edelman is how focused she is with moral clarity on the moral call here. And I feel like we're in this moment right now where people keep saying, well, we don't have time for morality. We don't have time for values. We have to be strategic, as if there exists a strategy that is not guided by and informed by our values and what it is we know to be true and what we believe in. And that, for me, it is that sort of deep and profound commitment. Whenever you face a tough decision, you're asking yourself, what is the right thing to do? What do I owe to my community? What do I owe to the people that I work with and work for, and those I'm advocating with and for? And I think for me, just so much of this is about Marian Wright Edelman. And now is a time that calls on sort of what we have learned from her and all of the people she has taught. And, and she, just to Barbara Armand's point, like, she will tell the story about the role that Ella Baker played in her own life. And that she tells a story about the role of Fannie Lou Hamer. And it just is a reminder that civil rights work and justice work is not a marathon. It is a relay race. And we only ever take the baton from those who came before and pass it on to those who come after. And how do we think about this as a multi-generational movement with this overlap? So we keep those leaders, we keep those people who've been in the work, we welcome those new people with less experience and more energy, and figure out how do we keep the knowledge moving forward? How do we make sure our movement can adapt? But how do we always make sure our movement is grounded profoundly in our values and what we believe and know to be true? And I think for me, really, it is Mrs. Edelman who has shown the way on that in so many ways.
So I have to tell everyone who cannot see us, who's not watching us live on YouTube or Facebook or Substack, that if you cannot see us, everyone here is going to have a neck ache after this show, because as Liz was bringing the message, everybody was nodding in an affirmative. You know, you preached a sermon, you were in the courtroom. Thank you, Liz, for that. And it is a great segue for, because one thing that I heard was the moral leader. And I am a big advocate of moral law versus, or not versus, but meeting the civil law. Our moral law must meet our civil law if we are ever going to achieve on earth as it is in heaven. And because that is part of the prayer that so many people know and pray, or at least have some knowledge of, that means that there's the possibility that it can be. So let me direct this over to Reverend Terry Hoard Owens so that we can talk about moral leadership in this moment in Women's History Month.
Thank you, Gina. And thank you to my sisters here. This is just filling my cup. And you're so right, Liz. Without a moral center, really nothing can happen. And as I always say on the show, I'm a Christian minister, but I don't care what your tradition is. If you have no tradition, I think the thing that makes even human community possible is the common belief that we must all flourish together, and that we all have a right for dignity and respect, and that we can all flourish together. There's not a single religious tradition that doesn't have some version of the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Loving your neighbor. And so I know it's Women's History Month, but I'll name John Lewis, the late congressman from Georgia, who was a young man in the 60s on the front line on the Selma to Montgomery march, was almost killed, literally got his head bashed in. He always writes about the movement from a theological perspective and says that nonviolent practice was a spiritual practice for him. And I think there's something inner spirit in each of us that holds movements together, right? You may not frame it as I might in a religious context, but there's the human spirit that whatever you call holy, whatever you assign as that higher power that holds us all together. And that's what allows us, our deference to that power of the human spirit is what allows us to really want to work for each other. I heard you're talking about women that I admire and respect. I come from a historic community in Indiana, one of the first free Black settlements in Indiana, settled by Black folks coming up from North Carolina and Georgia in the 1820s. And both of my grandmothers were historians of these communities and shared a lot with me about those. And I'm so grounded in what I do now because I know who I am and where I come from. I was listening to NPR last week in the car as I was driving to visit my dad in Galesburg, Illinois, who's a retired African-American studies professor. If you know me and know him, then you don't question why I am the way I am. And then if you have met my mother, you'd have no doubt. But Brian Stevenson was being interviewed about this new Montgomery site that he has as part of the Equal Justice Initiative. He got a chance to meet Joanne Carr, who was the president of the Montgomery Improvement Association, which really organized the Montgomery bus boycott. Dr. King came in later to give voice to the movement, but it was organized by women, mimeographing flyers, organizing the carpools. And he got a chance to meet not only Joanna Carr, but she introduced him to Rosa Parks. And he was telling Rosa Parks all the things that he wanted to do. And she said to him, what you're going to do is going to make you tired, but you need to be brave. And then she took his hand and said, will you be brave? And I think it's the power of the women in our lives who have told us what it takes and will say, can you be brave?
I think that's incredible. I cannot. Until we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Women's History Month special is today with the women of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We will
continue this conversation, and that's just full of so much meat, with Terry Hord Owens, Barbara Arnwine, Liz King, and myself at, come back now, 6 minutes from now on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Victor Glover will pilot NASA's Artemis II mission, becoming the first Black astronaut to travel around the moon.
I also hope we are pushing the other direction, that one day we don't have to talk about these first, that one day this is just, and I listen to this, that this is the human history.
The mission marks the first crewed lunar flight since 1972 and is expected to return with a Pacific Ocean splashdown. The Justice Department is suing Minnesota over its sports policies, arguing they violate civil rights laws. Black Attorney General Keith Ellison says the state will defend transgender students and criticize the lawsuit. And Black South Florida Congresswoman Sheila Sherfilis McCormick is facing growing pressure from fellow Democrats over ethics allegations and criminal charges tied to campaign funds. Some are calling for her resignation, while she maintains the accusations are politically motivated. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event, featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
LeBron's youngest son, Bryce, is a member of the Arizona men's basketball team, but you will not see him on the court in the Final Four. Bryce James, a 6'5" freshman guard, decided on February 3rd to redshirt the rest of the season. Before that decision was made, with input from his father, Bryce had not appeared in any of Arizona's first 22 games. At the time, a very deep Arizona team was 22-0 and number one in the nation. Arizona is one of two number one seeds that made it to the Final Four. Michigan is the other number one. Michigan and Arizona will meet up in one of the semifinals Saturday in Indianapolis. Illinois and UConn are in the other semifinal. Alabama State is looking for a new men's basketball coach. Tony Matlock left the HBCU school to become an assistant under Penny Hardaway at Memphis. Matlock was 51-80 in 4 seasons at Alabama State. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Hey guys, do you want male performance in the bedroom and do you want it now? Get it in 47 seconds or less. For the first time, you can have instant male enhancement. Introducing Knox 47, the topical male enhancement that works in 47 seconds or less. Satisfaction guaranteed. Finally, after years of scientific research, our proprietary formula will allow you to perform in the bedroom like never before. Just imagine that little blue pill on steroids. No reason to settle and wait when you can get instant performance now. Forget about pills and potions that make you wait hours or up to 30 days to work. That's yesterday's news. Knox 47 is brand new. The hottest thing for men. And you don't need a prescription. Call now and get your free supply for a limited time.
To find out how to get Knox 47 for free, call now. 800-677-1453. That's 800-677-1453. Free bottles for limited time. Call 800-677-1453. That's 800-677-1453.
All I need is one mic. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Less than 24 hours before a planned California governor's debate, USC and KABC Television Channel 7 pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message, regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field, ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the need. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the need. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. And today we are so very excited to have the women of the Jesse Jackson. They're all assembled together. Our regular contributors, Terry Hoard Owens from the Faith Not to Fall on Mondays. This is her normal segment. And Liz King from Lighting It Up. She's on with us every first and third Tuesday. And of course, Barbara Arnwine, who is with us in the second hour on Tuesdays on the Grind with Barbara Arnwine. And certainly that is where we have been. I want to pick up the conversation. And, while we were on closing the previous segment, I thought about how important it is in a patriarchal society that men are courageous and creative enough to know where their bread is buttered,
to respect the women who have been in their lives and to have provided the opportunities where women didn't take it for themselves, because we know that we can do that, but have offered. There are certainly, Terry, you brought up John Lewis. And certainly there have been men, Reverend Jesse Jackson, who have been pivotal in pushing women out into the forefront. And there have been so many. And, you know, I'm not going to miss Jesus in that conversation either. So I do want to, you know, give that thanks to men who have allowed the women to be the backbone, but also to be right out in front, as clear as the nose on your face. I'm going to leave that
to jump in on that particular conversation, because it does take a strong man to
with a strong woman. How about we start with you, Liz?
Yeah, I think this is just a good reminder that how important it is. And, you know, I've been thinking a lot about the role of white women in the movement and just the importance of understanding that white women are making choices and they're deciding which side to be on and where to align themselves. Similarly, men in the women's movement have had to make those choices, and there have been men who've gotten in the way, and then there have been men who have been part of the solution, who recognized that they themselves were burdened by the patriarchy, that they themselves were limited, and that we're not going to get anywhere, you know, unless we get there together. And thinking about Frederick Douglass, and I think we underestimate the critical role of Frederick Douglass in women's suffrage and the way in which Frederick Douglass was enabling and contributing to women's leadership in the abolitionist movement specifically, but in the sort of global, the justice movements more broadly. Obviously, a tremendous leader in so many ways, including as a supporter of justice and equal opportunity for women. And thinking about the interrelatedness of all of this, I think we have all seen and benefited from partnership with men who felt called to justice and equal opportunity, to gender justice, who knew that this is all of us or none of us. I've been thinking a lot about women in the labor movement, thinking about Mother Jones and the role that she played, Jane Addams as a core leader in reforming our criminal legal system that was hurting so many children for so long. And it just is a reminder, no matter who you are, no matter your background, you have a responsibility to show up, because these systems of oppression and marginalization, nobody really wins. You may think you're winning. You may think as a man that you are benefiting from the subjugation of women, but it's a lie. It's a lie. And so thankfully there are men who have found that and sort of realized and seen the truth that they have a responsibility and an opportunity to show up in solidarity. So, I think about Wade Henderson, certainly who was a longtime leader of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, who understood better than anybody else ever has the role of solidarity and showing up and the interconnectedness of liberation movements. I do feel fortunate to have been surrounded by great leaders of all genders, and specifically men who have found their way to be on the right side of women's history and the right side of gender justice and equality for women.
Mm-hmm. I was just looking while you were talking at the men who were pivotal in the 19th Amendment being passed. And you never really have heard these people mentioned in any sort of conversation. Max Eastman was the Men's Equal Suffrage League founder, James Lee's Laidlaw, Congressman Thetis Sims, and earlier supporters, we did mention Frederick Douglass and James Mott. These men here some of them were married to these women. And I don't know, a happy wife, happy life might have been going on in that, but you also, you have to really give a lot of credit to because even as you saw the 15th Amendment being passed and Black men got the right to vote and women did not, and it was quite a while before women got that right to vote. So, we do give men credit. But as we move along here and we think about where it is that we still need to go, and whether it is, in the justice, in the legal system, justice and reform in the church, Terry, tell me a little bit about what you're seeing and the role of women as it's changing and morphing within the church.
Well, you know, I'm only the second woman to lead my mainline denomination, and my predecessor was the first woman to lead any mainline denomination. And to date, there have still not been any women to lead the historically Black denominations. There have been women. I believe Bishop Vashti McKenzie was president of the College of Bishops in the AME Church. There have been women who have been president of the College of Bishops, but never a presiding or senior bishop. So we still have a long way to go in the church. We have denominations that are ordaining, but there's still a move to make sure that we get women who are being received as pastors, right, and pulpits and leaders of other kinds of organizations. And the reality that women just lead differently, and understanding who you are, your organizational skills, your relationship protocols are different, but we still have a long way to go. I think I've had a harder time in the Black church, quite honestly. And there are still, depending upon where you go in different denominations, there is more or less reception of Black women, and even in ministerial leadership. And sometimes those particular constructs have been handed down to men who are young enough to be my son, right? So it's a concern, and we're making progress, but my own ministry kind of parallels a lot of that struggle. We're making strides, but I think communities in color still tend to have larger vestiges of the patriarchy, and I think that's true in Asian and Hispanic communities. Disciples, we're 80% white, 10% Black, 7% or so Hispanic, and 2-3% Asian Pacific Islander. So what I see in my own communities and what women in those communities share is that it's harder still in communities of color that are more reluctant in a church setting to allow women to lead.
Let's pick up right there when we come forward. This is the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, our Women's History Month special, and we will be 3 minutes. We will come forward. This is Gina Towns. I'm your host.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass. And affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
We're at Doolin's on Crenshaw. It's a special place where the neighborhood comes together. Got the fried chicken, the catfish, the candied yams, the mac and cheese. It's all delicious. I'm Isaac Bryan. I represent the Crenshaw District in the California State Legislature, and I'm supporting Tom Steyer for governor of California. California is under attack, and we need a fighter who's going to come in on day one and stand up for California values and push back. That person is Tom Steyer. Tom and I have been fighting together for the better part of a decade. Tom is the only candidate supported by smart justice because Tom has stood on the front lines of racial justice, economic justice, and true solidarity. Tom is the real deal. He's the only candidate in the race with a comprehensive plan to make the billionaires and the corporations pay their fair share so we can fund things like universal health care and education. He means what he says, and he does what we need. This is a moment when we've got to fight fire with fire, and I believe that fire is Tom Steyer.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, Ahmad supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development. Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and
This
listen
is
to
the
me.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
They sitting in for Jesse Jackson Jr. Thank you, Jesse, for allowing women to have our day on your show. Thank you, KBLA, for all that you did on this past Friday. KBLA did the whole day and night, and it was a women's takeover, and it
before we came forward,
walking about the pivotal role that some men have had in pushing women forward. But we do know that a lot of women have been disenfranchised in this hour because of the rules that this administration has. Think that the dismantling of the Department of Education, the dismantling of our healthcare system, SNAP benefits for single moms, on and on with all of that. How
can we as women support one another, Barbara? Unmute yourself, Barbara.
Sorry about that. First of all, we got to understand all our commonality. I mean, one of the sadness of what we're dealing with right now with the SAVE Act attack, those 69 million married women who are going to now become second-class citizens. They're going to have to, if in fact this thing passed, what the vision that they have for women is that we would have to, those of us who are married and have taken our husband's surnames, that we would have to what? We would have to either, because there's no exact match to our necessarily to our identification, to our birth certificates, that we would have to go and personally sign an affidavit that somehow attests that we are who we are, and the men just walk straight by. The husband just walks straight by while the wife is going to be burdened. That's what they envision for us. That's why we're fighting that ugly bill. That's one reason why we're trying to make sure that it never passes. And as long as we have breath, I don't think it will. The other thing, I think that people, so that's all women. It doesn't say based on race, it just says women. But on the other hand, I think we got to stand up for each other. When we see women being affected by ICE, Renee Good, give her credit, that she stood up for other women who weren't like her. She was white. She had privilege, but she said, hell to the no, as long as my sisters who are Latino, who are, African, are being deported, I'm going to stand up for them. And she ended up having to give her life. I mean, that's the kind of spirit women need to have towards each other. Instead of that, spirit of, I'm a white woman, so I'm privileged. Renee points the way. I also think that on, maternal health. I mean, look at it, Black maternal health, the mortality rates are so horrible that we really should be uplifting that. Everybody, every woman should say, no, that's not acceptable to have third world, death rates for Black women in this country. So I just think there's, one of the things that we teach and talk about, because, I work a lot with Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw, is we talk about intersectional failure. And people don't understand that concept, but it's key. You can't understand the 1960s and 70s civil rights movements without understanding intersectional failure. And so Dr. Crenshaw's actually created a play where, in that play, the fictional Barbara Arnwine is engaged in a spiritual conversation with the deceased Dr. Martin Luther King. And we're talking about the current day movement and about what it would have looked like if, in fact, Black women, had been given the status they deserved during those decades of civil rights advocacy, and how that intersectional failure leads to where we are today. And so there's just so much for us to understand, in the same intersectional failure that happened back when the 19th Amendment was passed, with not positioning and making sure that Black women were able to vote. I mean, all these issues. So one of the things that we know, that as we move forward, as organizers, as believers, as fighters, 365 days a year, that we must have that ability to be intersectional, to reach out and bring in our broadcloth, our whole cloth of coverage for all women.
Barbara, thank you for that. And I'm going to pivot to Liz, because one thing that I know is very difficult. How do we help women? And I'm going to ask you the same question, and for that word of hope, Terry, before we go. How do we help women choose between being white and being a woman, being Black and being a woman, and look for our commonalities as women together?
Yeah, I mean, just to Barbara Arnwine's point, and then obviously the invocation of Dr. Crenshaw and all that we have learned and been told. I mean, people's lives are just more complicated than any one identity will allow, and that we have got to come together. I'll just invoke one other name here, Fatima Goss-Graves, who's the president and CEO of the National Women's Law Center, is really leading the way in so many ways and calling out the ways in which this injustice shows up, and it hurts white women, and it hurts Latino women and Native women and Asian American women, and all women are harmed, and the way in which we all have to come together here in solidarity. So I think it is a choice about living into your own life, thinking about the future of your children. No person should ever give birth and have to risk their own life to give life. I mean, it just makes no sense, and we can do better than this. And solidarity is the only way forward. We have to learn this lesson painfully, generation after generation, and the only path forward is together. I think that is what we keep learning over and over again. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
In our final 30 seconds, Reverend Owens, can you give us a word of hope? Unmute, Terry.
That plea for solidarity and unity really is summed up in the book of Galatians, where Paul says, be not weary in well doing, For in due season you'll reap if you faint not. And it's the perseverance of women fighting for the humanity of all women are the source of life. And so have been fighting for generations and centuries to ensure the flourishing of all human beings. But I think our word of hope is that we can't give up. We must be brave, as Rosa Parks said. Will you be brave? That's with me, and I offer that to all the women out there. Don't give up. Will you be brave?
And to all the mothers who have had to fight for their children who have been murdered.
Yes.
And who are missing.
Yes.
We remember you in this moment.
Yes.
I'm Gina A. Towns. This is the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We will see you tomorrow on Tenacious Tuesday, and Jesse will be back with us. This is KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.